Kelly stopped me in the parking lot behind the diner and said, "Your boyfriend is going to see it anyway, Claire." I had just clocked out from a double shift. My feet hurt, my hair smelled like fryer oil, and all I wanted was to get home before the rain started. I waited for her to laugh, because Kelly always laughed before saying something mean. That time, she looked almost excited. I asked her what she was talking about. She tilted her phone in her hand like she was deciding whether to show me something or save it for later. Then she said she had seen a video on her brother's phone. A private video. A video of me and Caleb from before I ever met Ryan. The whole parking lot went quiet around me. Kelly kept talking, but I heard only pieces. She said Caleb still had it. She said a couple of guys from the auto shop had already seen the thumbnail. She said I should have told her if I had been that kind of close with her brother. Then she smiled. That smile was the first time I understood this was not gossip. This was control. My name is Claire. At the time, I was 28, living outside Tampa, working mornings at a diner and taking extra hours at a dry cleaner when I could. I was not rich or polished. I was just trying to keep my bills paid and build something decent with the man I loved. His name was Ryan, but everyone called him Ray. He was serious, steady, and careful with everything, including me. He had plans for savings, a house, marriage, maybe children someday. Before him, my life had been messy in ways I did not like to explain. Caleb was one of those messes. He was Kelly's older brother, a familiar face in the neighborhood. He fixed cars in his uncle's garage, played loud music on Fridays, and talked to women like he was doing them a favor by noticing them. I had gone out with him twice, more than a year before I met Ray. One night ended in a motel room after too many drinks and too little judgment. I was not proud of it, but I was not ashamed enough to let somebody turn it into a weapon. That was what I told myself before Kelly said there was a video. I asked her if she was sure it was me. My voice came out so low that I barely recognized it. Kelly shrugged like my life was a cheap rumor and said she had seen enough to know. She said Caleb had been scrolling too fast, then slowed down when he noticed she was looking. She said he laughed and told her not to be nosy. That was when my stomach turned. Because if Caleb had laughed, he had not made a mistake. He had kept it because it gave him something over me. I asked Kelly why she was telling me. She looked over my shoulder toward the alley, then back at me. For 1 second, the excitement left her face, and something nervous took its place. She said, "I just think your perfect boyfriend should know who he is really dating." That sentence hit harder than the first one. I told her not to say another word. I stepped closer, and she stepped back. I asked if she had sent it to anyone. She said no. I asked if Caleb had. She rolled her eyes and said she did not know what men did in their group chats. Then she made her second mistake. She said, "Maybe you should be grateful he kept it private this long." That was not an accident. That was the line she wanted me to carry home. I did not cry in front of her. I did not scream. I walked away with my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped my keys before I reached my car. I sat behind the wheel with the door locked and the windows fogging from my breath, staring at the cracked dashboard like it could tell me what to do. A private video. Caleb's phone. Guys at the shop. Ray. The order of those words kept changing, but the danger stayed the same. I should have called the police that night. I know that now. I should have called my mother, or Ray, or somebody with more sense than fear. Instead, I drove straight to Caleb's house because fear can make you walk straight into the room where the weapon is kept. Caleb lived with his uncle in a low yellow house with 2 broken-down cars in the yard. When I pulled up, he was bent over the hood of a Honda, pretending not to notice me. His phone was sitting on the top of a toolbox beside him. The moment he saw my face, his hand moved toward it. That told me more than his mouth ever could. I said, "Where is the video?" He blinked slowly, like he was buying himself time. Then he laughed once and asked what video. I pointed at the phone. "Do not do that," I said. "Do not pretend you do not know." He wiped his hands on a rag and looked toward the house, probably checking if his uncle was listening. His whole body changed. The lazy confidence stayed on his mouth, but his eyes went sharp. I saw fear there. Not guilt. Fear. That was the difference that made me colder. He said Kelly was dramatic, always making things sound worse. Maybe she saw some old picture and imagined the rest. I told him to unlock the phone. He looked at me like I had amused him. "You think you can come over here and demand my phone?" I said, "You recorded me without my permission." His face hardened so fast it almost looked like another person had stepped behind his skin. He leaned closer and lowered his voice. "You should watch how you say that." That was when I understood he was not afraid of what he had done. He was afraid of losing control of when I found out. I told him I could report him. If he recorded me in that motel room without my knowledge, that was a crime. His jaw tightened. For a second, the rag stopped moving. Then he smiled again. "Nobody will believe you after they see it," he said. "They'll believe what they see." I felt something inside me go still. There are sentences that do not just hurt you. They rearrange the whole room. That one did. The yard, the cars, the toolbox, the phone, the open garage door. All of it became part of a trap. He thought my shame would protect him. I said his name one more time and told him to delete it. I told him if that video ever reached Ray, my family, my work, anybody, I would make sure he paid for it. My voice shook, but not because I was unsure. It shook because I wanted to grab his phone and smash it against the driveway. He laughed through his nose and said, "You always were dramatic." But he did not pick up his phone. That was the first piece I kept. When I got back in my car, I did something I had never done before. I opened the voice recorder on my phone and checked the last file. My hand had hit record without me fully realizing it when I walked up the driveway. I had not caught everything clearly because the phone had been inside my purse, but I caught enough. I caught myself asking about the video. I caught him saying nobody would believe me after they saw it. For the first time that night, I had something besides panic. It was not enough to save me. Not yet. But it was enough to tell me I could not keep walking around blind. The next morning, Kelly came to my apartment before 9. She never came that early. I was still in sweatpants, trying to drink coffee even though my stomach would not let me swallow. When I opened the door, she looked smaller than she had in the parking lot. She asked if she could come in. I almost said no. Then I saw her eyes keep moving toward the stairwell, like she expected someone to appear behind her. I stepped aside. She sat on the edge of my couch and twisted the strap of her purse around her fingers. She said she had been wrong about the video. She said it was not me. She said Caleb had gotten angry because she had started drama over nothing. She was lying so badly it was almost insulting. I asked her why she was scared. She looked up too fast. "I'm not scared." I said, "Then look me in the face and tell me there is no video." She looked at the coffee table. That was all the answer I needed. Kelly said Caleb had told her to fix what she started. She said he did not want problems. She said I should forget the whole thing because if I kept pushing, people would start asking why I cared so much. The words came out rehearsed, but her fingers kept twisting that purse strap until the fake leather creaked. Then she said something that changed the size of the problem. He said if Ray finds out, that is on you. I stared at her. She seemed to realize she had said too much because she stood up almost immediately. I asked if Caleb had said Ray's name first or if she had. Kelly grabbed her purse and said she had to go. I stepped between her and the door. "Kelly," I said, "how does Caleb know I'm afraid of Ray seeing it?" Her face drained. That was the moment the lie stopped being private. I had never told Caleb that Ray was the part I feared most. I had told Kelly in the parking lot that I was in a serious relationship. I had said I was in love with him. But Caleb had used Ray's name like a target, not a coincidence. Kelly left without answering. For the rest of that day, I moved like I was underwater. At work, I poured sweet tea into a coffee cup, forgot an order twice, and almost cried when a customer called me honey. My manager asked if I was sick. I told her I had a migraine. She believed me because people believe the explanation that asks the least from them. When my shift ended, Ray was waiting outside in his truck. He had flowers on the passenger seat. I almost broke right there. He leaned over and opened the door for me, smiling in that careful, gentle way he had when he was trying not to embarrass me. He said he knew I had been stressed and thought we could eat somewhere quiet. I climbed in, looked at the flowers, and hated Caleb so much my hands went numb. Ray noticed. He asked what was wrong. I told him I was just tired. The lie came out too easily, and that scared me almost as much as the video. We drove to a little Cuban place near the river. Ray talked about his day, about work, about a better position he wanted to apply for, about the kind of future he thought we could build. I nodded at the right times. I smiled when I was supposed to smile, but every time his phone lit up on the table, my body tightened. That was what Caleb had done. He had turned every notification into a loaded gun. Halfway through dinner, Ray reached across the table and took my hand. He said, "Claire, you can tell me anything." My throat closed. For 1 second, I almost did it. I almost told him everything. I almost said I made a mistake before him. Caleb may have recorded me, and now I think he is using it to scare me. But Ray was looking at me with such trust that my shame found the weak place in me and pressed down hard. I said, "I know." That was the third mistake I made. The first was trusting Caleb in a motel room. The second was confronting him without help. The third was deciding that silence would protect the man I loved. Silence does not protect love. It gives liars time to choose the explosion. Over the next week, Caleb did nothing obvious. No messages, no calls, no posts, no whispers that reached me. Kelly avoided me completely. When I saw her at the corner store, she turned around and left her basket in the aisle. That should have made me feel better. It did not, because quiet from someone like Caleb never felt like peace. It felt like he had put something down where I could not see it. I started watching everything. Who looked at me too long at work? Which men lowered their voices when I walked past? Which women smiled with pity instead of warmth? I checked my phone until my battery died before lunch. I searched my name online like a crazy person. I searched Caleb's accounts, Kelly's accounts, even old group pages from high school. Nothing. Then, 10 days after the parking lot, I got a message from an unknown number. It said, "Tell your church boy before somebody else does." There was no photo, no video, no name, just that sentence. I was standing in the dry cleaner when I read it. A row of plastic-wrapped shirts hung between me and the front window, swaying every time the air conditioner kicked on. I read it once, then again. My fingers went cold. Ray was not a church boy exactly, but he went with his mother twice a month, and Caleb knew that. Everybody in our neighborhood knew Ray was the kind of man mothers praised and men mocked when they could not become him. That message was not random. It was a leash being tugged. I called the number. No answer. I texted back, asking who it was. The bubble showed delivered, then nothing. I saved a screenshot and sent it to myself by email because I did not trust my phone anymore. Then I went to the bathroom, locked the door, and vomited until there was nothing left. That night, I made the first decision that saved me. I did not tell Caleb. I did not tell Kelly. I did not tell Ray yet, and I am not proud of that. But I stopped acting like the video was only a shameful secret. I started treating it like evidence. I made a folder in my email and named it Receipts. because naming it something normal made my hands shake less. I saved the voice recording from Caleb's driveway. I saved Kelly's first text from months earlier, where she had once joked about her brother keeping trophies on his phone. At the time, I thought she meant pictures of cars, girls at parties, stupid things men saved to make themselves feel wanted. Now I read that word again. Trophies. The word sat on the screen like it had been waiting for me to understand it. I searched my old photos from the night Caleb and I went to that motel. I found one blurry mirror picture I had taken before leaving my apartment. I checked the date. I found an old bank notification showing the motel charge because I had paid for snacks at the vending machine with my debit card. It was not proof of the recording, but it was proof of the night. Proof of timing. Proof that it happened long before Ray. For 2 weeks, I built that folder in silence, and Caleb got bolder. The second message came from a different number while I was sitting in Ray's truck outside my mother's house. Ray had gone inside to help my father move a broken washing machine. My phone buzzed. Pretty ring. Does he know what kind of woman he is buying? My whole chest locked. I looked down at my hand. Ray had given me a promise ring 3 days earlier at dinner. Not an engagement, not yet, but close enough to make my mother cry when she saw it. I had posted one picture to my private account. Only friends could see it. Caleb was watching me through people I knew. That was when fear became something sharper. I went through my follower list that night. I looked at every person who had liked the photo, every person who had viewed my story. Kelly had not liked it, but her cousin Brianna had. 2 men from Caleb's garage had viewed it. One of them did not even follow me. That was not gossip anymore. That was a circle. I printed every screenshot at the public library because I did not want Ray seeing the files on my laptop. I put them in a brown envelope and slid it under a stack of towels in my closet. My hands shook the whole time, but I kept doing it. I thought collecting proof meant I was getting control. I did not understand that Caleb was collecting something too. A month passed, then another. The messages stopped. Kelly moved around me like I carried a disease. Caleb did not appear at my work, did not call, did not show up near my apartment. Part of me began to believe he had gotten scared. Part of me wanted to believe the folder, the recordings, the screenshots. All of it had been enough because maybe men like Caleb only enjoyed power when nobody pushed back. That was the lie I needed in order to sleep. Ray and I grew closer during those months. That is the part that hurts to remember, because it was not all terror. There were beautiful days folded into the nightmare. He fixed things in my apartment. He brought soup when I got sick. He talked about a future like I was already inside it. That made the secret heavier, not lighter. Every good moment became another reason to keep quiet. I told myself I would tell him after I was sure the video was gone, after I found the right words, after another threat came. But nothing came. That silence became my excuse. When we reached 1 year together, Ray took me to a restaurant downtown. I wore a blue dress he loved, the one my mother said made me look like I finally believed I deserved good things. Ray was nervous through dinner and kept touching the small box in his jacket pocket. After dessert, he opened it. Inside was a thin gold ring with a tiny stone. He said it was still a promise, not a proposal, because when he proposed, he wanted to do it right. He had already started saving for the real ring. I cried. For 1 clean minute, I forgot Caleb existed. Then Ray slid the ring onto my finger, and his phone buzzed on the table. My body reacted before my mind did. I looked at it so fast Ray noticed. He turned the screen down and smiled softly. "Work," he said. "It can wait." But I saw the top of the notification before he flipped it. Unknown sender. My stomach dropped so hard I had to grip the edge of the table. Ray did not open it. He did not mention it. He paid the bill, walked me to the truck, and kissed my forehead in the parking lot like nothing had changed. Maybe nothing had. Maybe everything had. That was the beginning of the worst kind of fear. The kind with no evidence except the way your own body starts warning you before facts arrive. For the next few days, I watched Ray too closely. I hated myself for it. I watched his face when he looked at his phone. I watched if he turned the screen away. I watched if his voice changed when he said my name. Nothing did. He was the same man. Warm, serious, gentle, steady. So I buried the fear again. That was what I had become good at. 7 months after Kelly stopped me in the parking lot, my cousin Marissa sent me a text at 6:18 on a Sunday morning. I remember the time because I stared at it later like the numbers had done something wrong. I was still in bed. The room was gray. My window unit was humming. Ray and I were supposed to spend the afternoon with his mother because she wanted to talk about Thanksgiving plans early, like she always did. I reached for my phone half asleep and opened Marissa's message. It said, "Claire, please tell me this is not you." Below it was a video. I did not press play at first. My thumb hovered over the screen while my body already knew. There's a kind of dread that does not need proof. It arrives complete. I sat up slowly, the sheet falling to my waist, and opened the message thread again, because I thought maybe if I looked twice, it would become something else. It did not. I pressed play. The video was only 12 seconds long, but 12 seconds can destroy a life when someone chooses the worst 12 seconds on purpose. My face was visible enough. Caleb's tattoo was visible. The motel mirror was behind us. There was no doubt. I could not breathe. Then I noticed something worse. The video had text stamped across the top, added later in white block letters. "Ray's good girl?" I dropped the phone on the bed like it burned me. That was not a leak. That was a delivery. Somebody had edited the video for the person I loved. Marissa started calling. I could not answer. The phone kept vibrating against the mattress, buzzing against the 12-second nightmare that had finally escaped the place Caleb kept it. I stood up, then sat back down. I tried to walk to the bathroom and hit my shoulder against the doorframe because my legs were not listening to me. Then another message came from Marissa. "Grant got it in a men's group. He said people are forwarding it." Grant was her older brother. He worked construction. If he had received it, it had already crossed from Caleb's circle into mine. My parents could see it. My coworkers could see it. Ray could see it. And because of that white text, I understood the real target had never been just my reputation. It was my future. I finally answered Marissa's call. She was crying before I spoke. She said Grant had recognized me and called her because he did not know what to do. She said the group chat was called The Pit, and it had at least 40 men from different garages, job sites, and gyms around town. She said Grant left the group after saving the sender's number. I asked her who sent it. She hesitated. That hesitation scared me more than any answer could have. She said, "Claire." The contact name was Kelly's brother. My vision blurred. Then she added, "But Grant said the number was not Caleb's." The room tilted. I asked whose number it was. Marissa said Grant was checking. She told me not to go anywhere alone, to call the police and to tell Ray before somebody else did. Tell Ray. Those words had followed me for 7 months, first as a threat, then as a choice, now as a deadline. I got dressed without showering. My hands moved by habit because my mind was back in Caleb's driveway, listening to him say nobody would believe me after they saw it. He had built the whole thing around that sentence, but he had forgotten one thing. I had kept his voice. I took the brown envelope from under the towels and spread everything across my bed. The screenshots, the unknown messages, Kelly's old trophies joke, the motel bank notification, the accounts that had viewed my ring photo, the voice recording. For the first time, it did not look like paranoia. It looked like a timeline. That was the moment I stopped shaking long enough to think. I called Caleb. He answered on the 4th ring, his voice rough, like I had woken him. I did not say hello. I asked him why the video was in a men's group. There was silence. Then he said, "What video?" The same lie. The same cowardice. The same act, even after the weapon had already gone off. I told him I had the video. I told him I had the messages. I told him I had him on recording from his driveway. That changed his breathing. He said, "You recorded me?" For the first time, he sounded offended. That almost made me laugh. I said, "You are worried I recorded your voice?" He hung up. 2 minutes later, Kelly called. I let it ring. Then my phone lit up again, this time with a message from Kelly. "Do not go to Ray. You'll make it worse." I stared at that line until the letters blurred. How did Kelly know I was thinking about Ray? I had not told her. I had not told Caleb on that call. I had not told Marissa I was going to him. Nobody knew that part yet. Then another message came in from Kelly. His mother already knows. For a few seconds, I did not understand the words. Then the final message appeared. "She wants you at dinner today anyway." That was when the floor dropped out from under me. Ray's mother had seen it, or at least Kelly wanted me to believe she had. The Sunday dinner I had been dreading was no longer just a family meal. It was a room I might walk into as a woman they had already judged. I called Ray with the phone pressed so hard to my ear it hurt. He did not answer. I called again. Nothing. On the third call, he sent me to voicemail. Then a text came through from him. "Come to my mother's house at 2. We need to talk there. Not at my apartment. Not in private. Not now. There." My whole body went cold. Because the video had reached his family before I did, and someone had made sure I would have to walk into that house without knowing who still believed me. I picked up the brown envelope. And for the first time, I was not only afraid of what they had seen, I was afraid of what Ray had been told before I got the chance to speak. I drove to Ray's mother's house with the brown envelope on the passenger seat, and one hand locked so tightly around the wheel that my knuckles hurt. Every red light felt like a delay Caleb had planned. Every car behind me felt like someone following. My phone kept lighting up in the cup holder, but I stopped looking after Kelly sent one last message. "Do not embarrass yourself." That was when I understood the dinner was not just a dinner, it was a stage. Ray's mother lived in a white one-story house with a narrow porch, blue shutters, and rose bushes she treated like children. I had been there dozens of times. I had eaten her rice, washed dishes beside her, helped her carry groceries, sat with her while Ray fixed the ceiling fan in the back room. That house had always felt safe. That day, it looked like a courthouse. There were too many cars outside. Ray's truck was there, his mother's car, his older sister Anna's SUV, another black pickup I recognized from the auto shop, Caleb's truck. My stomach turned so hard I almost put the car in reverse. That was exactly what they wanted. They wanted me to run, so my absence could become their evidence. I picked up the envelope and walked to the porch. Nobody opened the door right away after I knocked. I heard voices inside, low and sharp. Then Ray's mother, Mrs. Mitchell, opened it with a face I could not read. She looked at the envelope in my hand. Then she looked at me. "Come in, Claire," she said. Not sweetheart, not Mija, not the warm names she usually used when she wanted me to feel like family. Just Claire. I stepped inside. The living room was full. Ray stood near the fireplace with his arms crossed, his face pale and closed. His sister Anna was beside him, holding her phone like she had been reading something ugly. Kelly sat on the couch, eyes red, pretending to be the victim of a mess she helped create. Caleb stood near the window, clean shirt, clean shoes, clean lie on his face. And beside him was a man I had seen only twice before. Victor, one of the guys from Caleb's garage. That was when I knew the circle had come into the room. Mrs. Mitchell closed the door behind me. No one hugged me. Caleb spoke first. He said, "I told them you would come with a story." The cruelty of that sentence was not loud. It did not need to be. He said it like he had already won, like all I could bring into that room was shame and excuses. Ray looked at me, and for one horrible second I could not tell whether he believed him. I said, "Ask him why he recorded me without my consent." The room changed, not because they believed me yet, because the word consent made Caleb's face tighten before he could control it. He laughed and said, "See, that is the story." Kelly wiped her eyes and said Caleb had been trying to protect everyone. She said the video was old, yes, but it had been spreading because I had started drama and threatened her brother. She said she only warned me months ago because she felt bad. She made herself sound like a witness. That was her part in the performance. Victor stepped forward and said he was the one who first received the clip in a group chat, but he did not know who sent it. He said Caleb had looked shocked when he showed him. He said Caleb told him not to spread it. He lied smoothly, too smoothly. That was when I realized they had rehearsed the room before I arrived. Ray finally spoke. His voice was low. "Why did you not tell me?" That question cut through everything else. Not because it was unfair, because it was the one question I deserved. I looked at him, not at Caleb. I said I was afraid. I said I was ashamed. I said I thought I could make it disappear before it reached him. I said I was wrong. Caleb smiled at that. He thought my honesty was helping him. Then I said, "But I did not come here with a story. I came here with a timeline." I opened the envelope. Caleb's smile disappeared. That was the first small crack. I placed the printed screenshots on the coffee table. The first unknown message. The second one about the ring. The screenshot of Caleb's garage friend viewing my private story. Kelly's old message joking about Caleb keeping trophies. The bank record from the motel date. The call log from that morning. The message from Kelly telling me not to go to Ray. Then I placed the transcript I had typed from the driveway recording. Nobody touched anything at first. People are strange around proof. They want it until it lands in front of them. Anna moved first. She picked up the screenshot about the ring. Her mouth tightened. "This was after Ray gave you the promise ring," she said. I nodded. Ray looked at Caleb. Caleb said, "Anybody could have sent that." I said, "Not anybody knew about the ring before I posted it, and not anybody from your garage viewed my story without following me." Victor's face changed for less than a second. Anna saw it. Mrs. Mitchell took the transcript and read silently. Her hand went still halfway down the page. Then she looked at Caleb and said, "You told her nobody would believe her after they saw it." The room froze. Caleb's mouth opened, then closed. He said, "That is not what I meant." I took out my phone. My hands were shaking, but I pressed play. The audio was muffled. There was wind. A car passed on the street. My voice came through first, asking about the video. Then Caleb's voice, not perfect, but clear enough. "Nobody will believe you after they see it. They'll believe what they see." No one moved. That was not shame anymore. That was evidence. Kelly stared at the carpet. Victor looked at the door. Ray closed his eyes for a second like something inside him had just been hit. Caleb recovered faster than I expected. He pointed at me and said, "She recorded me illegally." That was the sentence that saved me more than he knew, because not one person in that room heard innocence in it. They heard fear. Mrs. Mitchell placed the transcript back on the table with care. She did not raise her voice. She did not need to. "You are standing in my living room," she said, "worried about being recorded after what you are accused of recording?" Caleb looked at Ray, trying to pull him back. "Man, come on. You know how women twist things when they get caught." Ray stepped away from the fireplace. Slowly. "What did she get caught doing?" he asked. Caleb blinked. Ray's voice stayed calm, but his hands were no longer crossed. They were at his sides, tight. What did Claire get caught doing, Caleb? Having a life before she knew me? Or being recorded without permission? Caleb's face hardened. That was the first time he understood Ray was not standing where he had placed him. Kelly started crying louder. She said everybody was attacking Caleb when he had been embarrassed too. She said I had threatened him months earlier. She said I had always been obsessed with protecting my image. Mrs. Mitchell turned to her. Kelly, she said, did you tell Claire you saw the video on your brother's phone? Kelly said yes, but she had been mistaken. Mrs. Mitchell asked, then why did you come to her apartment the next morning to take it back? Kelly stopped crying. That question had not come from me. I looked at Mrs. Mitchell. She looked back at me, and for the first time that day, I saw something under her cold expression. Not judgment, calculation. Mrs. Mitchell reached behind a framed photo on the side table and picked up her own phone. Then she said, because you came to my house last night and told me a different version. My chest tightened. Kelly went white. Mrs. Mitchell continued. She said Kelly had come by the night before with tears, saying there was a terrible video of me, saying Caleb was being blamed unfairly, saying Ray deserved to know before he made a mistake. She said Kelly had tried to show her the clip. Ray turned sharply. You came here? Kelly whispered that she was trying to protect him. Mrs. Mitchell said, no, you were trying to control what he heard first. That was when I realized something I had not known. Mrs. Mitchell had not invited me into a trap. She had let the trap close while keeping the door unlocked for me. Caleb's voice sharpened. He told Mrs. Mitchell she was twisting things. He said the family should be angry that Ray had been humiliated. He said men at the garage were already laughing. He said the real issue was that I had hidden my past. Ray crossed the room so fast I barely breathed. He stopped inches from Caleb. Say one more thing about men laughing at her. Caleb raised both hands like he was innocent. I am just telling you what people are saying. No, Ray said. You are telling me what you wanted people to say. That was the moment the room shifted. Not all at once. Not like a movie. But I felt it. The power that had been pressing against my throat since the parking lot began moving away from me and toward him. Caleb looked smaller when Ray stopped protecting his pride. Mrs. Mitchell said she had already called someone before I arrived. For a second, I thought she meant the police, and my knees nearly gave out. Then a knock came at the door. Anna opened it. A woman in a navy blazer stepped in, carrying a laptop bag and a small folder. I recognized her vaguely from one of Mrs. Mitchell's church events. Her name was Denise Carter. She was a lawyer. Caleb cursed under his breath. That was when his sister Kelly stood up. Why would you call a lawyer? She snapped. Mrs. Mitchell looked at her and said, because you brought revenge pornography into my house and asked me to help destroy a woman my son loves. The room went silent again. There are words people avoid because once they are spoken, nobody gets to pretend the thing is smaller than it is. Revenge pornography was one of those words. The phrase hit the room like a gavel. Caleb started talking too fast. He said nobody could prove he sent it. He said the video was old. He said maybe somebody stole his phone. He said maybe Claire had sent it herself years ago and regretted it. That last lie made Ray move again. Anna grabbed his arm before he reached Caleb. I had never seen Ray look like that. Not angry in the loud way. Worse. Controlled enough to scare me. Denise asked me if I would give her permission to look at the materials I brought. I nodded. She sat at the dining table, opened her laptop, and began taking photos of the screenshots. She asked calm questions, dates, numbers, names, who had received what, who had contacted me, whether I had the original files. I answered as best as I could. Caleb kept interrupting until Mrs. Mitchell told him he was welcome to leave, but if he did, She would give his name and Victor's name to the officer who was already on the way. Officer. Kelly sat back down. Victor said, "I did not send anything." Denise looked at him for the first time. "Then you should be very interested in helping identify who did." That shut him up. Caleb looked toward the window, then at his sister, then at Ray. The room no longer belonged to him, and he did not know how to stand inside it without power. That was the first visible punishment. Not jail, not yet, not a judge. Just the look on his face when he realized shame had switched sides. The police arrived 20 minutes later. I wish I could say I felt strong when they asked me questions. I did not. I felt exposed. I felt dirty, even though I knew I had done nothing wrong. I felt like every word I said had to fight through 7 months of fear. But I said it. I told them about Kelly in the parking lot, Caleb at the house, the recording, the unknown numbers, the leaked clip, the caption with Ray's name, the men's group, Grant, Victor, everything. When the officer asked Caleb whether he had ever had the video on his phone, he said no. Then Denise asked Kelly one question. "Did you see the video on Caleb's phone?" Kelly looked at her brother. Caleb stared back with a warning in his eyes. That was when I saw the truth of their relationship. Kelly had been cruel to me, yes, but she was also afraid of him. Not like someone afraid of being yelled at, like someone afraid of what might happen if she stopped being useful. Kelly whispered, "Yes." Caleb exploded. He called her stupid. He called me worse. Ray stepped between us. The officer told Caleb to calm down. Caleb shouted that everyone was acting like he was some criminal when I was the one who had opened my legs for him. Mrs. Mitchell slapped him. It happened so fast the room stopped breathing. She was not a large woman. Caleb could have laughed. He did not. His cheek turned red. And for the first time since I had known him, he had no sentence ready. Mrs. Mitchell's voice shook, but it did not break. "Get out of my house." The officer escorted him to the porch, not arrested yet, but watched. Victor followed, suddenly eager to cooperate. Kelly stayed on the couch with her face in her hands, crying like someone who had finally realized the person she protected would sacrifice her without blinking. Ray did not follow Caleb outside. He stayed with me. That should have made everything simple. It did not. After the police took the initial report and Denise told me what I needed to preserve, the house emptied slowly. Victor left after giving the officer the group chat name and the number that had posted the clip. Kelly left with Anna, because Anna said she would take her home before Caleb could get to her. Then it was just Mrs. Mitchell, Ray, and me. The silence after a public disaster is its own kind of noise. Mrs. Mitchell stood near the kitchen doorway, looking smaller now that she was not holding the room together. She told me she was sorry she had let Kelly and Caleb inside before I arrived. She said she needed to see what story they would tell when they thought I was not there to answer. I nodded, but I could not speak. Then she touched my shoulder. "I should have called you first," she said. That almost broke me more than the accusation. Ray asked if we could talk outside. We sat on the porch steps, the same place where his nephews used to eat popsicles in the summer. The sky had gone heavy and gray. Rain was coming, but not yet. For a while, Ray said nothing. Then he asked, "How long have you been living with this?" I told him the truth. 7 months. He looked away. That hurt more than if he had yelled. I said I was sorry. I said I should have told him the day Kelly stopped me. I said I let fear make decisions for both of us. I said I understood if he could not forgive that part. He rubbed his hands over his face. When he spoke, his voice was rough. "I got a message the night I gave you the ring." I stopped breathing. He looked at me then. It was from an unknown number. It said I should ask you about Caleb before I put a ring on your finger. The restaurant. His phone. Unknown sender. The screen turned down. I had known. Some part of me had known. I asked why he did not ask me. He looked at the wet porch boards. Because I thought it was some jealous trash trying to start something, and because I trusted you. That sentence did not make me feel better. It made me feel worse. He had trusted me with silence, and I had answered with silence of my own. Then he said, a week later, someone sent me a still image. My stomach dropped. He had seen part of it, not the whole video, a still image. Enough to wound him. Enough to make him wonder. Enough for him to carry the same poison I had been carrying, but alone. He said it looked old. He could tell from the date on a motel sign reflected in the mirror, from my hair, from things he knew about me. He said he deleted the message because he did not want to participate in someone humiliating me. I cried then, not loud, not dramatic. The kind of crying that makes no sound because there is too much shame sitting on your chest. Ray said, I was waiting for you to tell me. That was the punishment I had earned. Not losing him in that moment. Hearing that he had given me space to be honest, and I had filled that space with fear. I said, I thought if you knew, you would leave. He turned toward me. I might have been hurt, he said. I might have been angry that you hid it, but I would not have blamed you for what he did. I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. But the truth was more complicated. Fear does not ask whether the person you love is fair. Fear only tells you what losing them would cost. He reached for my hand and stopped before touching me, like he was asking permission without words. I gave it. He held my hand carefully, like something bruised. Then he said, I need time with the lying part. I nodded. That was fair. He continued, but the rest? Caleb does not get to turn what he did into your shame. That was the first sentence that let me breathe. The investigation took weeks, then months. And those months were uglier than I want to make them sound. People talked. Some acted kind to my face and hungry behind my back. At work, 2 men came in 3 days after the report and sat in my section even though they usually went to the counter. They kept looking at each other and laughing too quietly. I walked to the back, took off my apron, and told my manager I could not serve them. For once, she did not ask questions. My father found out from my mother before someone else could poison it. He cried in the garage because he did not want me to see him cry. My mother slept at my apartment for 3 nights, not because I asked, but because she knew I was not sleeping. Ray stayed close, but not in the easy way from before. There were quiet drives, hard conversations, moments when he looked at me with love and pain in the same face. I learned that a relationship can survive the truth and still limp for a while because lies leave splinters even when the truth is on your side. I accepted that. Caleb, meanwhile, tried to become the victim. He told people I had tried to ruin him because I regretted sleeping with him. He said I had known about the video. He said we had recorded it together. He said Ray was weak for staying with me. Then the second piece of evidence surfaced. Grant gave the police the number that posted the video in the pit. It was a prepaid phone. Caleb thought that would protect him. It did not. The phone had been purchased at a gas station where Caleb's cousin worked. The security camera showed Victor buying it, while Caleb stood beside him in a baseball cap, thinking cameras only mattered when criminals were smarter than them. That was the first crack the public could see. Then a woman named Dana came forward. I did not know her. She was 31, a bartender from the next town over, and she had dated Caleb before me. She heard his name because a friend sent her an article from a local page after the report became public. She contacted Denise first, not me. Dana said Caleb had filmed her too. Then another woman messaged Denise. Then a third. That was when the story stopped being about one leaked video and became something much larger. Caleb had not kept a mistake. He had kept a collection. Trophies, Kelly had once called them. I remember sitting in Denise's office when she told me that word might matter. Not legally by itself, but narratively, evidentially, as proof of pattern. She had printed Kelly's old message. She slid it across the desk. "Men like him document themselves," she said. "They always think the shame will belong to someone else." That sentence stayed with me because it was not beautiful. It was true. Kelly eventually gave a formal statement. She admitted she had seen multiple files on Caleb's phone over time. She admitted Caleb had told her to scare me after I confronted him. She admitted he wanted Ray to receive the video because, in his words, I had started acting above my level after dating a man like him. Above my level. That was the real wound under all his cruelty. Caleb had not leaked the video because he loved me, wanted me, or missed me. He leaked it because I had moved on with dignity, and he could not stand that I had not stayed small in the place where he left me. He did not want my body. He wanted my future kneeling. The criminal case moved slowly, but the consequences started before court. The garage fired Victor first. Then Caleb's uncle told Caleb he could not work there anymore. The men's group exploded after police started contacting members. Suddenly, everybody who had laughed was only accidentally added. Everybody who had forwarded the clip did not realize. Everybody who had watched became a man with a wife, a mother, a daughter, and a memory problem. That was another lesson. Cowards become forgetful when accountability learns their names. Ray's family stood with me publicly before my own voice was steady enough to do it. Mrs. Mitchell posted one sentence on her social media after people started whispering that Ray had been fooled. "The shame belongs to the person who records and spreads harm, not to the person harmed." She did not tag me. She did not explain. She did not ask for applause. But everyone knew. Caleb's mother called Mrs. Mitchell that night, screaming that she had destroyed her son's reputation. Mrs. Mitchell listened for almost a minute, then said, "Your son destroyed his own reputation. We are only refusing to carry it for him." That line traveled farther than the video ever should have. By the time the first hearing came, Caleb looked different. Not sorry, smaller, angry in the way arrogant people get when the room no longer bends toward them. I sat on one side with Ray, my parents, Mrs. Mitchell, Anna, Denise, and two women I barely knew but understood too well. Dana sat behind me. She touched my shoulder once before we went in. Caleb avoided looking at all of us. His attorney tried to argue confusion, old footage, no clear proof of distribution, no intent to harm. But the prepaid phone, Victor's statement, Kelly's statement, the old messages, the driveway recording, the caption with Ray's name, the pattern from other women. All of it began closing around him. Not dramatically, permanently. That is what people like Caleb do not understand about proof. It does not need to scream. It only needs to stand there longer than the lie. When Caleb agreed to a plea months later, I did not feel the joy I expected. There were charges related to unlawful recording and distribution. There were penalties, probation, required registration provisions tied to the nature of the offense in that jurisdiction, fines, and orders to delete and surrender devices for forensic review. I am simplifying because the legal language was heavier than the emotion could carry. But the result was simple. He did not walk out clean. Victor took a deal for cooperation and still lost his job, his marriage, and every ounce of confidence he had when he lied in that living room. Kelly was not charged the same way, but she paid socially. Not because I chased her. I did not have to. People remembered that she had tried to scare me into silence, then cried when silence stopped protecting her brother. Her apology came in a message I did not answer. It said, "I was scared of him too." Maybe she was. But fear does not excuse handing another woman to the person you are scared of. Ray and I did not get engaged right away. That part matters. In a cheaper version of the story, he would have proposed the week Caleb was sentenced. and everyone would cry, and the pain would become proof of love. Real life did not move that cleanly. We went to counseling, separately first, then together. I had to learn how to stop treating honesty like a threat. Ray had to learn how to talk about the hurt without making me responsible for the crime. Some weeks we did well. Some weeks we sat in his truck outside my apartment and said almost nothing. But he stayed. Not because he was weak, because he understood the difference between betrayal and fear. A year after the video leaked, Ray took me back to the same Cuban restaurant where he had given me the promise ring. I almost said no because the memory still lived there. He said he understood, and we could go somewhere else. I said no. I wanted the place back. We sat at the same table. The waiter did not know us. The music was too loud near the kitchen. My hand shook when Ray reached into his jacket. But this time there was no unknown notification on the table. He placed a small box between us. Then he said, "No secrets this time." I laughed and cried at the same time, because it was the most romantic and painful thing he could have said. Inside was the real ring. He did not make a speech about saving me. He did not say Caleb made us stronger. I hate when people say pain makes things better. Pain does not make things better. People make choices inside pain, and sometimes those choices keep something alive. Ray only said, "I love you. I trust who you are, and I want a future that does not belong to what he did." I said yes, not because everything was healed, because for the first time, the future did not feel like Caleb's weapon. Our wedding was small. My father walked me down the aisle with tears on his face, and one hand trembling around mine. Mrs. Mitchell fixed my veil like she had been waiting years to do it. Anna cried before I even reached the front. Ray looked at me like I had arrived from a war he wished I never had to fight. And Kelly was not there. Neither was Caleb. That absence was its own kind of justice. After the ceremony, during the reception, my cousin Marissa pulled me aside and said something that made me go still. She said Caleb had tried to send a letter through someone, claiming he wanted closure. I did not read it. There was a time when I would have needed to know every word he wrote. I would have searched it for guilt, for apology, for some explanation that made the damage feel less senseless. Not anymore. Some people do not write apologies. They write hooks to pull you back into their control. I told Marissa to throw it away. Later that night, after everyone danced and ate and cried too much, Ray and I stood outside the venue under string lights. My dress was dirty at the hem. My feet hurt. My makeup was half gone. I had never felt more beautiful. He asked what I was thinking. I looked at the parking lot, at the dark spaces between the cars, and remembered Kelly standing under that diner light months earlier, smiling while she said my boyfriend was going to see it anyway. That sentence had once sounded like a sentence passed over my life. Now it sounded small. I told Ray I was thinking about something Caleb said in his yard. Ray's face changed. "What?" I said. He said people would believe what they saw. Ray waited. I looked through the glass doors at our families, my mother laughing with his mother, my father dancing badly with Anna's husband, people who had seen enough truth to stop fearing a lie. Then I said, "He was right." Ray frowned. I smiled for the first time without flinching. They saw him. That was the part Caleb never planned for. He thought the video would show who I was. Instead, it showed who he was. Not because of the image itself, but because of everything he did around it. The threats, the timing, the caption, the group chat, the lies. The way he tried to use my shame as a lock and forgot locks can become evidence when someone keeps the key. For a long time, I thought surviving meant people forgetting. I used to pray the video would disappear into the endless noise of the internet, buried under newer scandals, newer cruelty, newer women being hurt in ways strangers would treat like entertainment. I thought peace would come when nobody remembered my name. I was wrong. Peace came when I stopped needing strangers to forget before I could live. Some people did see the video. I cannot erase that. Some people probably saved it before the takedowns. Some probably whispered about me with the confidence of people who confuse access with truth. But the people who mattered saw the whole story. And the people who only wanted the dirty version were never people I needed to keep. Caleb lost his job, his reputation, his control, and eventually the version of himself he had sold to everyone. Victor lost the safety of being just one of the guys. Kelly lost the comfort of standing beside cruelty and calling it loyalty. I lost something too. I lost the illusion that silence could protect me. But I gained something I did not expect. I gained my own voice back. If you are listening to this because something like this happened to you, I will not tell you it is easy. It is not. It is humiliating in ways people do not understand unless they have had their privacy turned into public property. It makes you question your body, your choices, your memories, your worth. But listen to me. The shame is not yours. The shame belongs to the person who records without consent, the person who shares, the person who laughs, the person who threatens, the person who watches harm and calls it entertainment. Caleb once said nobody would believe me after they saw it. In the end, people did believe what they saw. They saw a man who thought a woman's fear was a hiding place. They saw a sister who tried to turn warning into humiliation. They saw friends who laughed until police asked for their names. They saw a family that refused to let my worst moment become their judgment of me. And they saw me. Not the 12 seconds Caleb tried to use. Me. The woman who walked into that living room shaking, placed an envelope on a coffee table, and finally let the truth become louder than fear. What would you do in this situation? Be honest. Or did this remind you of someone? Tell me in the comments. And if this made you think about your own relationship, I left something in the description that can help you build something stronger. Subscribe if you want more stories like this every day, and share this with someone who needs to hear this story.